1963, classified as a fourth felony offender. Offense, forcible rape. Sentencing date, December 4th, 1997. Sentenced to a total of 80 years. Parole date, December 13, 2016. Good time, not eligible. Full term, December 13, 2076. Is this information correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Ms. Teresa. Good morning, Mr. Lemons. How are you?
Good morning, sir.
Good. Mr. Lemons, I'm going to just place some information in the record. Then we're going to have a conversation, okay?
Yes, sir.
Sit back and relax. Mr. Lemons, you're currently 58 years old. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're a fourth felony offender, so you have an extensive criminal background. Do you remember what the first three felony convictions were for?
Drugs, possession with intent, cocaine. I think all three of them was for drugs, sir.
Okay, so this is your first violent and sex offense. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You had a hearing in, I think, March of 2019, about 2.5 years ago,
Yes, sir.
and you were denied.
Yes, sir.
And can you tell me, do you remember the reasons why you were denied?
As I recall, they said I had victim opposition.
Yeah, the two reasons were you had opposition from the legal community and you had victim opposition. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I remember.
Well, the legal community is law enforcement, the DA's office, and sometimes it is from the judge, but you did have some opposition from the legal community. And those were the two reasons why you were denied, okay?
Okay.
And you served about 25 years on an 80-year sentence. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about everything you've done since March 2019. Tell me the programs that you've completed since March of 2019.
Moral recarnation therapy. I started out the program, was in it for about a year, and then the COVID came. The program was put away for a while, about 11, 12 months, and then it came back again, and I just completed. Been completed the program, but in an unofficial capacity, I've been in the program helping others obtain their certificate in the program.
So you completed MRT. Any other programs?
Yes, sir.
Any other programs since last?
I'm recently in right now 100 hours pre-release, thinking for a change, and on Fridays, every Friday, I attend the risk management program, refreshing the course. Taking a refresher course, rather.
Okay. Is that the risk management sex offense, or is that the risk management substance abuse?
It's risk management sex offense, sir.
Okay, so you're reviewing that course phases 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's excellent. That's a good idea. Tell me, do you have a job at the facility?
Yes, sir.
Tell me what it is.
Kitchen. I'm a dishwasher.
The dishwasher. Now,
Yes.
You said that you were thinking for a change in 100 hours pre-release. How far along are you in those programs?
Thinking for a change, I think I have about 4 to 6 more sessions, and 100-hour pre-release. It's a refresher course as well, but I'm in it, and I think I have about 14 more sessions in that one out of 32.
Okay, so everybody knows what 100 hours pre-release is. It's 10 modules, but I'm more interested in thinking for a change.
Yes.
How has that course so far changed your way of thinking?
Well, it can change my way of thinking in an enormous way, because I was a drug addict, and I was in denial of being a drug addict. I was a drug dealer as well, and in denial of being both, and it changed my way dramatically, because the program allows me to take the material, work it out, give truth to answers, and change my way of thinking, and that's what's important, changing my thinking and my old beliefs, and that changes your behavior. So the program has been working out beautiful.
Okay. When did you have your first encounter with drugs and alcohol?
When I was 17 years old, sir.
And what was your drug of choice?
Drug, alcohol, and cocaine crack, sir.
Okay. You are an admitted alcohol person and a drug addict. How long will you be an addict?
Even under treatment, I'll forever be an addict, sir.
So you have to deal with it the rest. You have to deal with it the rest of your life. Am I right?
Yes, sir. All it takes is one decision to make the mistake again.
Okay. So we're gonna get back to that later on, but I want to know what your sobriety plan is, if and when. But we'll get back to that later.
Yes.
So, are you a trustee?
No, sir.
Simply because of your offense, you can't be a trustee, right?
Yes, sir. I've tried.
Okay. You have any vocational skills? Carpentry, culinary, welding?
Well, I've worked in the kitchen about 17 years. I've completed programs. What do you mean by vocational skills?
Carpentry, welding, culinary, any vocational skill that would make it easier for you to obtain employment.
I don't have a trade, sir, other than a professional truck driver. I completed a computer's office practice course with Cornell University, and Northwestern. I participated in a paralegal program, and it was discontinued after 4 months. So,
okay. So were you employed at the time of your incarceration?
I was employed with Southern Interior. I think that was the name of the company, sir.
And what were you?
I was a truck driver.
Okay, so you have a vocational skill. Do you have your CDL?
Yes, sir. Okay. I had them. I have to renew them.
Yeah, but I'm just saying you have a skill. You have a vocational skill.
And I graduated Diesel Driving Academy, sir. Excuse me for interrupting.
Well, that's okay. So you do have a skill, and you were employed at the time of your incarceration.
Yes.
Tell us about your transition plan. If released, where will you live, and what type of employment will you seek?
Well, during my transition, upon release, I plan to report to my parole officer, report to my employer, and seek my CDL, renewal of my CDL, you know, so I could drive legally. And part of my job duties are working with my brother, helping him with maintenance on the truck and clerical office jobs, you know, helping him with the office work and upkeep maintenance on his truck and local driving.
So you're going to be employed with your brother's company?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where will you live?
With my wife at 2715 Meadows Avenue.
Okay, great.
We just recently bought a home.
Okay. And how long have you been married?
About 4 years.
Okay, great. Let's get back to the alcohol. What type of relapse prevention have you mapped out, and tell me about your sobriety plan?
Would you repeat that, please, sir?
Tell me about what you've done as far as preventing a relapse on alcohol and drugs, and just outline your sobriety plan.
Okay, I've participated in this program, Living in Balance, moving from a life addiction to a life of recovery program. I've completed that program as well, and thinking for a change and mind all the substances, all those programs involve drug use and alcohol abuse, and what I plan to do is if I'm released, I plan to attend some AA meetings, you know, if that could be a condition of my parole as well. You know?
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. You have all this knowledge, you have all these programs completed. How will you use that knowledge to prevent a relapse when you're released? That's what a sobriety plan is.
Yeah, by attending meetings and sticking with, you know, the knowledge that I possess or participating in the program.
And get your good sponsor.
Yes, sir. Get a good sponsor.
And you will be attending AA meetings the rest of your life.
It's necessary, sir.
Okay.
Freedom is very important.
Yeah. Let's talk about your disciplinary record. When's your last disciplinary write-up?
I think it was around 2016.
2016. Let me get to that in my presentation. Okay, it was a number 10 for fighting in August of 2016.
Yes, sir.
So you want to tell the panel what happened?
Well, I worked in the kitchen as a scullery worker at the time. My best friend Kevin Edwards used to work another shift and used to come help me every day. I was the only person assigned to the discovery working alone at the time, and Kevin, my best friend, and Barbara used to come help me every day on the evening shift, and we was just horse playing. But horse playing is technically called fighting up here. So we was accused of fighting by just horse playing. He was the one, Kevin was the one, when they sent me out to camp, got with my wife and straightened them out, that we was just horse playing.
Okay. I'm just going to enter some information. You do have a moderate risk assessment, which is a cause for concern. A moderate risk assessment tells us that you have a moderate chance of reoffending. I don't see where they did a static 9-9 on Warren Falgood.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a static 9-9 instrument in your records?
No, sir. They do that at headquarters.
Okay, so even though you're a sex offender, I don't see a static 9-9. So we're just gonna pass that by. You've completed anger management, substance abuse, and your sex offender treatment. And as you said
Yes.
before, you're now taking a refresher course, and you're taking Thinking
Yes.
for Change. Have you taken victim awareness?
No, sir.
I think that's a very important part of your rehabilitation, to put yourself in a victim's place. And I think no matter what happens today, I think we're gonna make sure that you have some victim awareness training, and maybe, just maybe, if you sit down and write a victim accountability letter, it will give you a chance to get out what you want to say to the victim of this crime. And I'm going to enter this information into the record, Mr. Lemons, but there's little you can do about this. You have expressed opposition from every member of the legal community. The judge has expressed her opposition to this early release. The DA's office in North Louisiana has expressed their opposition. Law enforcement, you have a poor supervision history. You were on supervision on 2 occasions, and you were revoked both times. You have an extensive criminal history. You're a 4th felony offender. And you have a moderate risk assessment, which tells us that you have a moderate chance of reoffending. So there's nothing you can do about that. I have not made a decision yet.
Yes.
I will sit back and I will listen. I will listen to my colleagues. I will listen to the speakers. If there's anybody in opposition, I will listen to those. And I will listen to the summation of your attorney. And then I'll make a decision.
Yes.
Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Ms. Jackson has questions.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lemons.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
When was your last hearing? Was it in 2019 or 18?
2019, ma'am.
Okay. I wasn't a member of the panel then, so I wasn't part of that hearing. And so I don't have any prior knowledge of you. Who was the victim of the rape?
Miss Kim Marks.
And what was her relationship to you?
She was a cousin,
What degree?
first cousin.
Okay. Miss Marks chose not to be here today, but she did send us a letter indicating that she probably feels more strongly today that you shouldn't be released than she did at the hearing. And as I was reading her letter, you know, it's kind of ironic that what really bothered her, Mr. Lemon, is that you wouldn't even refer to her by name. You referred to her as that person. She came into the hearing hoping to hear some apology, some acceptance of responsibility, some remorse on your part. And she said she heard none of that. And she left the hearing feeling more victimized than when she started the hearing, which is why she chose not to make an appearance today. So I would like for you to tell me why you were not able to tell your cousin that what you did to her was horrible, that you regretted it and asked for her forgiveness. Tell me about that.
I remember, we are talking about the first parole, ma'am?
I'm talking about the hearing from 2 years ago. She said, I was present for the parole hearing 2 years ago, and I'm writing at this time because I do not want to endure the anger and frustration I felt at the last hearing.
I think if I could just
Okay,
interject.
that was 16. That would have been
Yeah.
2016.
Right.
Okay.
I was really blindsided. I had anticipated that parole hearing for a long time.
Mhm.
And I had no idea, really no idea that opposition would be present. You know, I
So
did
what?
my,
I mean, but it was.
yes, ma'am.
And
I'm
with your
trying to-
cousin.
I'm trying to explain. I
Okay.
did my 20 years, and during the hearing, I heard opposition, and I was just totally in shock because I had no idea, and the opposition was on speakers, and I had no idea that there was going to be any opposition. And not only did it surprise me, it really made me lose my wit. I couldn't think clearly. You know, I didn't even know I did not apologize, express remorse. You know, I was just so shocked by it, ma'am.
Well, I mean, over the course of your, okay, so let me talk. You want to do all the talking, let me talk, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You took the sex offender treatment. You had taken that at the time of your hearing in 2016, is that correct? When did you take risk management?
I'm not sure what year it was, ma'am. But what I did learn about the sex risk management program, because I've been wanting to write letters, but the risk management program taught me, what I learned from the risk management program was that I could have no contact with the victim, regardless of being my cousin or not. I could not express anything I wanted to express to her about how remorseful or sorry I was. That's what the risk management program teaches us, that it's forbidden by law to contact them, to write letters, to express anything about the crime.
But at the hearing, you can do that. At the hearing, you can do that. But I'd like to ask you though, rape is always hard to understand. But your first cousin, why on earth would you sexually assault your first cousin?
Ma'am, I'm really sorry.
No, but tell me the why. Just tell me why. Why do you think, looking back now, why do you think you would, one, choose to sexually assault anyone, and then for it to be a close family member? What?
It didn't, I had been drinking White Lightning liquor and spiking it with knee-high grape soda pop and smoking crack cocaine. And initially I was engaged to be married, and my fiance had left and had been visiting me for 3 days, and I was just drinking, and the kids would come by after school, and I was just this particular night abusing the White Lightning liquor with knee-high grape soda and smoking crack cocaine. And initially, when I went to our house, I went there to actually use the car, to take the car. I was really angry. And while I was there, she went to asking me questions about, I do recall the incident. My cousin went to asking me questions about how was the kids, and how's Brenda, and at some point I had asked for a glass of water. She had brought me a glass of water or something, and what it did was, this is going against what I've been taught, taking total responsibility. But the water reactivated the alcohol, and the questioning angered me, and I attacked her. It's just an unexcusable explanation, but I didn't go there to assault my first cousin.
But
I
you
love my
did.
first cousin.
Okay, but you did. And
Yes,
I don't
ma'am.
think, and I don't think you really understand what that did to her.
Oh, yes, I do, ma'am.
Well,
I
tell me.
understand what it did to the whole family, the ripple
Well,
effect.
let's
ma'am.
talk about her. Let's talk about her.
Yes,
What do you
ma'am.
think that did to her, her
Ma'am,
life?
it scared the daylights out of her. Ma'am, it scared me as well. I
See, it's not
cried.
about you. See, there you go.
I understand,
There you
ma'am.
go. You want to talk about how you cried.
We
Think she-
cried, ma'am. Ma'am, we cried, and we
With
talked
who?
about what I had did, and I
Okay, who
apologized
did you talk to about that?
with Kim, my
When?
cousin. The night the incident, immediately after it happened, ma'am. And I wrote my parole officer information down for her, and I asked her, let me get help. That particular night, I went to a nightstand and I wrote the parole, Mark Masters, I wrote his information down. I told her I was going to turn myself in. The next morning, I asked her, let me get help, And later on, my brother told me and my cousin told me that she wanted me to do 20 years, and I told her I'd do it. When my lawyer came to me and with the deal, 80-year deal, they couldn't understand why I was taking the 80 years, because during the discussion, she told me I would only do 20 years. Kim had asked me through my brother and my other cousin, to do 20 years. She wanted me to do 20 years. And I was glad to do 20 years because I was so distraught and messed up about it. I didn't even think about no other family, my kids. I just wanted to do 20 years, man. And that's when I accepted the 20 years. When they offered it to me, I accepted 20 years because Kim had told them that she wanted me to do 20 years, and that's the deal. I accepted that. But I cried, we talked about our family, our grandmothers, our mothers. Our mothers are sisters, man.
I know that's how you got to be first cousins.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Lemon. Like I said, this is my first time hearing your case, and so there are things that the other board members may be familiar with that I don't know about, and I just wanted to talk to you about that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Roche.
Ms. Jackson, I must apologize. I didn't include the latest update on the victim. In the latest update on the victim, she spoke to the victim coordinator, system coordinator, and she submitted a statement when it was contacted on October 8th, 2021. And I should have included that information in my presentation, and I did not. But the comments, and I'm gonna paraphrase the comments of Mrs. Hanks, who is Kim Mark Hanks. Hanks is her married name, and that statement was submitted to the Victim Assistance Coordinator on October 8th, 2021. And this should shed some light on what Mr. Lemon said and the position of his victim, who is his first cousin. Ms. Hanks stated that she previously was contacted and received a victim's package that was mailed to her. Her statement on this date was as follows, and I quote, "We are first cousins. Our moms are sisters, and I love my aunt. I will have to talk it over with my family. I am not advocating for parole That is how I feel right now. My cousin has contacted me. So Mr. Cousin has contacted Mrs. Hanks. And she stated that he wants me to write a statement in favor of his parole. I am not going to do that. I was told when contacted that my aunt's dying wish is to see him out. I don't want to deny her dying wish, but I feel like the parole board knows his criminal history. They know his record. So whatever they decide to do, I will think about, and if I decide to write a statement, I will send it later. Also, an addendum, they give a residency plan with Miss Ethel Hollis at 5810 Attaway Drive. This was his residency plan, but from my understanding that Mrs. Lemons, the mother, is now deceased. Is that true, Mr. Lemons?
Miss Hollis, yes, she's deceased, sir.
Yeah.
But my
So,
resident,
so the latest position of the victim is that she is going to defer to the parole board, but she is not advocating for a parole, and she is against writing a statement that was requested by the offender she was in favor of a parole. And a part of the addendum also is that the parole officer stated that he's a fourth offender. His instance offense is a forcible rape, which was reduced from the greater offense of aggravated rape as a part of a plea deal. He said Mr. Lemons also brought duct tape and a knife when he came to his cousin's house. He had prior arrests for violent offenses, but all of his convictions were for drug charges. He's been released on good time parole a number of times in the past, but he's always committed new crimes during these periods. And that is the latest addendum from the parole officer that prepared this PPI. So she is not opposed any longer, but she is deferring to the decision of the parole board. And she is not willing to write a statement as requested by the offender in favor of his early release.
Thank you, Mr. Roche.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and hear from support. If we could hear from Miss Anita Lemons.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm Anita Lemons, Wilbert Lemons' wife. I knew Wilbert back then and I know him now. And he has changed tremendously.
You want to keep hearing that?
He will be working with his brother upon his release, if y'all forbid it. And we also have other, yeah, he have plenty of support, a good support group. And for his work, he got plenty of work if he come home, when he come home. I need my husband to come home.
Thank you, Miss Lemons. We appreciate y'all being with us today. Mr. Lemons, is there a statement you'd like to make before we turn it over to Mr. Beck?
Yes, I just like to say that, that I understand my past, and I understand, but I wanted to correct some about the parole board. About the parole. I did complete one of my paroles book in the past. I think it was my second parole, 5-year parole. I completed that and received my ammunition paperwork and stuff. So I did complete one of my paroles. But I understand my past with drugs and alcohol abuse. I even understand the crime. But this was the reason I taken the rehab programs, to establish new thinking and new behavior, so I can make better moral decisions. And I just ask that y'all take that into consideration. I have a job lined up. I have plenty of family support. I have a resident plan, and I've taken the rehab programs. And I did not contact the victim because I understood from risk management that this was forbidden. So I myself did not contact the victim. I wanted a letter, true, but through my lawyer, I thought that was not me personally being accused of contacting the victim, but I just ask that y'all please take in consideration my effort to rehabilitate and my planning to establish myself as a productive citizen again, upon my transition back upon release. I've spent 25 years here doing my prison, just trying to stay out of trouble. My children, 7 children, have grown to be nice young men and nice young women. I understand the victim's position, but I have grandchildren now, that I want to spend some time with my grandchildren, teaching them the responsibility and work ethic and spend time with my wife. I just wish that and pray that God touch y'all heart to take some of these things in consideration.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Beck, I'm sorry. I'm going to ask Warden Falgout if there's anything else he'd like to add, and then I'll turn it over to you. Warden Falgout?
At this point, no, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Beck?
Yes, ma'am. Members of the board, thank you very much for hearing this today. I've been practicing law for 35 years. I began my practice in 1986, and the primary focus of my practice is representing people who are accused of crimes against the state. So I've been through a lot of these hearings, and I've been through a lot of cases with people who have some really serious crimes that they've been charged with. I will tell you honestly, in my 35 years of doing this, I have never had a client who was more mild-mannered, kinder, or more appreciative of the work that I'm doing for him than Mr. Lemons. And I mean that sincerely. Over the past 2 years, I've gotten to know him, and I've gotten to know his family, and more particularly, I've gotten to know his wife. And I think he's an example of how the system has worked. He was convicted, and I've reviewed his record. He was justly convicted, and he was sentenced. And the purpose of our Department of Corrections and our correctional program is to penalize, first of all. He's been penalized. He's sat in jail for the past 25 years. He's been segregated from society, from his family, and his liberty has been tremendously curtailed. So he has received a penalty for this offense, a 25-year penalty thus far. He has also been rehabilitated. I think that's the second portion of our correctional program, is to correct behavior. I believe that he has taken part in as many programs as he could. Certainly since the last parole hearing, which I was at, he was instructed to take part in some programs. He has done that. He's taken refresher courses, and he's willing to continue to do that as a condition of parole, should he be allowed parole at this time. The gentleman's behavior today, as I have sat and talked with him and as I have observed him through this course of 2 years, is not the same person who would have committed a crime such as he was charged with and such as he was committed for. I don't see that. And I'm speaking from my heart as a lawyer who represents him, but also as a person who has done this for quite a while. As to contacting the victim, I will admit that I contacted the victim through her mother. I did not speak with the young lady individually, but on behalf of my client, I felt it was my duty to reach out. I indicated to you in the original parole application that we filed, which resulted in a hearing today, that I had done so. And I gave you all the contact number for her mother, who I did speak with, who said she would be willing to talk with you all. I'm going to quote from the paper that I wrote to you. Since then, and very recently, counsel for Mr. Lemons reached out to the victim of his now 24-year-old offense. She was reached through her mother at 318-636-5467, who told counsel that she does not object to Mr. Lemons being released from prison on parole. I wanted to make sure that I was clear about that, because Mr. Lemons himself, as far as I know, did not contact her. That contact was made by me. In that communication, I did tell her mother that I understood that she did not want to speak with me, and I respected that. But if she wanted to write a letter to the board, that would certainly be helpful. So I believe that that came from me, and I apologize if that has caused her any anguish. I would also like to read from the application parole that we filed, Mr. Lemon's own words, and that's the very last paragraph of the application. In Mr. Lemon's own words, quote, "I am remorseful of my crime committed against Mrs. Marks, and I apologize to her, her family, my family, and society, and I pray to spend whatever remainder of my life with my wife and kids and other family members." That was given to me directly by Mr. Lemons. It's a quote, and I wrote it down into the application that we filed. That's really all that I have. I just wanted to clarify that and to tell you my experience with this gentleman, and hope that your consideration will be favorable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beck. I think the panel's prepared to vote. We'll start with Mr. Roche.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we go into a brief executive session.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Ms. Jackson has second. I agree. So it's a unanimous consensus to go into executive session to discuss confidential matters. Stand by, everyone. We'll be right back.
Thank you all.
All right, it was a pretty brief, like 4-minute executive session. What do you think they're going to do? But let's find out.
Everybody's back in, I think. Yes, we are back in regular session. We're prepared to vote. We'll be starting with Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Lemons, out of your own wisdom, you start to take a refresher course in sex offender. I think you completed the last phase of sex offender in 2016. And out of your own volition, you thought it was necessary to refresh yourself in sex offender. treatment. And I thought that was a wise decision. Your crime is horrendous. You went to your first cousin's home, I really believe, to do exactly what you did. Duct tape and knife visiting the first cousin, that doesn't bear well for you. But you have spent 25 years of incarceration. You've taken the prerequisite programs. And I'm going to grant conditionally. And this is what you have to do prior to your release. Since you started taking risk management, I want you to complete it again. I want you to complete Thinking for a Change. And I want you to enroll in victim awareness. And I want you to complete that. You have 9 months as a refresher course, so you should be able to finish the sex offender treatment, finish your Thinking for a Change, and complete victim awareness. Once you're released, you are to have a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. If you have to work or you're in church at a late hour, you must get permission from your parole officer before you're out after 9, even if it's a legitimate reason. You have to get permission. I think alcohol and maybe drugs played an important part in this crime. So I want you to attend at least 2 NAAA meetings a week to make sure that you don't go back to your addiction. There will be no contact with the victim unless your parole officer gets a written request from the victim. But I'm going to put a no contact order with the victim. And I can't do the victim with the victim. And I can't do the victim's family because the victim's family is your family. But I absolutely want no contact with the victim unless she requested in writing and it's approved by your parole officer, who will contact this parole board to get their signature and approve that waiver of that particular condition. You follow me so far?
Yes, sir.
And I know you're what, 58 years old?
Yes, sir.
But I want you to get back to the community. So I'm going to place some community service on you. Get with your parole officer. Get with your pastor and find some avenue in which you can do some community service as payback for your offense,
Yes.
along with the 25 years you served. Mr. Lemons, I'm only one vote. I'm giving you a chance.
Thank you, sir.
Please do not abuse the opportunity in which I'm affording you.
Thank you, sir.
And I don't have to say it, you will have to register as a sex offender. And I don't know which tier you're gonna fall under, but it may be for 25 years, it may be for life. But you have to register as a sex offender and follow all requirements of that registration. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Jackson?
All right, Mr. Lemons, I'm going to concur with Mr. Roche simply because you are retaking those classes, which I think you really need to do. So I'm going to grant conditional on completion of risk management, thinking for a change, victim awareness, and with the same conditions of release as Mr. Roche.
Mr. Lemons, my vote is the same for the same reasons. You understand those conditions?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit on the front row in those classes. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
Well, I'll tell you that he is out. He is out. They listed him as a tier 3, which is the least of the dangerous tiers. I don't know if it was 25 years or to life, but he's out. And there's something strange with this case, and we just don't have any other information. But to serve 25 years for this in Louisiana, it's quite a lot. So you usually see much lesser sentences. But there's just something so bizarre about it. His explanations about how he's drinking, and then I felt like he almost gave her blame. And then I asked her for a drink, and she gave me a soda pop, and that got me. Like, I've never heard of anything. What are you talking about? It was like he was taking a soda pop, and that made him so drunk, and then he just lost it because she asked questions how the kids were doing. I mean, the bottom line is that I thought it was just a horrible interview. He didn't take accountability when Ms. Jack, they're trying to get him to explain what he did, and he's like, "Well, she asked me how I was doing, and gave me a soda pop, and that got me really drunk, and I got angry." And it's like, if that's how far you've come in all these years, then no, you don't belong to get out, man. There's something really scary. I mean, just the idea of the crime and how it happened, and this is your first cousin, and you're engaged to get married, and the whole thing is just weird and scary, and makes you think that the man's got to be dangerous. And then is it the same woman, his wife, sticks with him for 25 years during all that? And it's like I don't know. I really don't know much to say except that I'm kind of creeped out by this. And he says an excuse the first time, how he never apologized to what he did to her, and it was because he didn't know that she was going to be on. He lost, to quote him, "I lost my wit." Because of grape soda. Like how Miss Jackson responded, "Yeah, I know. That's how you get to be first cousins." And he's like, "It was my mother's, my mother's sister's daughter." Miss Jackson's like, "Yeah, I know." And then you find out that his attorney reaches out to the victim to say, "Can you write something in favor?" And it's like, what? Is that allowed? Is an attorney allowed to do that on behalf of? I've never heard of that before. It's just, I don't know. To me, there's something very scary about this situation. I don't have any more context to add. I'm sorry, there's nothing on the case, but to think that it's just like someone randomly snaps and does that, and was there duct tape involved, and he's on parole when he did it? That's someone who has no impulse control. That's someone who is dangerous. And he hadn't shown me anything in the interview that would make me think it's like, to me, it was quite scary, quite terrifying. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. We'll do another one.
Mr. Roussel, you are a second felony offender. Your offense is 2 counts of causing knowledge of a juvenile. You were sentenced on October 26, 2015. Count 1, 10 years, Department of Corrections, Louisiana. Count 2, 5 years, and those are running consecutively. So your total sentence is 15 years. Your parole date is April 1st, 2021. You're not eligible for good time, and your full term date is October 1st, 2028. Is this information correct?
Yes, sir.
Your case has been assigned to Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Russell, how are you this morning?
I'm all right, sir. How are you?
Good. You are 40 years of age, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where were you born and where do you live?
I was born in Harris County.
Harris County?
Yes, sir.
Texas. Texas, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, around Houston area?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were you raised up with your family, mother and father?
Yes, sir. My mother, my grandmother. My father passed away before I was born.
Oh, okay. So you raised up with your mother and grandmother?
Yes.
Okay. What school or what education do you have?
I went to Sulphur High for 9th and 10th grade. Then I graduated at Parkview Christian Academy School.
So you got a high school education, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any school or training after since that time?
No, sir.
Nothing. Okay. What? How about drug use? Any drug use?
I was on parole for possession of cocaine in 2007 or 2008, but that's the only history I have.
You say you were on parole for that?
Yes, sir.
Were you successfully completed it?
Yes, sir. I believe I sent y'all a letter in my parole packet stating that I successfully completed my parole.
What age did you start using drugs?
I was 15.
And what was that drug of choice at that time?
That was marijuana.
Okay, you started off on marijuana?
Yes, sir.
When did you graduate to the cocaine?
Probably around 18.
18. So have you had any treatment or anything prior to coming to jail?
Yes, sir. Whenever I got on parole, I was in AA, NA meetings, and that was pretty much it. I had to take drug screens on a regular basis when I was on parole.
How often did you go to the AA, NA? How often were you going?
Twice a week. Oh, over here where I'm at now?
No, before, while you were on outside.
Twice a week.
And you did this on your own, or you?
Well, I was authorized by the court, well, by the parole.
By parole ordered you to go to AA, NA. Okay, and how long did you do that? How long were you going to those trips?
Until I completed my parole.
Okay, so roughly how long that was?
It was like a year and a half.
Year and a half. You attended those meetings?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So marijuana use about 15, something like that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What other, since you've been incarcerated?
Yes, sir.
What classes have you taken?
I've taken cage rage, living in violence, pre-release. I was in the SO classes, but they got shut down. And whenever I got here at 16, I started going to the NAAA meetings here, but they got shut down also. And I was in faith-based. I worked in prison enterprise. I'm still working there now. I've been there for 3 years. I was a carpenter, a sander, a sprayer. And right now I'm in sanding right now as we speak.
Did you hear me? I'm having internet problem. Can you hear me, Mr. Russell?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
I said, so you're classified as a trustee?
No, sir.
Just work detail?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Not the transitional work program, you just on a work crew?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Which one of those classes you think you got the most out of the classes that you were able to take?
Well, there would be two of them. That would be living in violence and pre-release.
Okay. Have you had any substance abuse?
I was in the sex offender class. I was in my first phase whenever it got shut down.
You say the sex offender class?
Yes, sir. Risk management.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So you did not complete the first phase of it?
No, sir. It got shut down.
Oh, okay. How about substance abuse? Have you had any substance abuse since you've been incarcerated?
Yes, sir.
And that was when did you do that?
I believe that's in with living in balance.
Living in balance. That's
Yes,
part of the living in balance program.
I believe so, sir.
Okay. Would you say that you're a drug addict?
As of right now, no, sir, I'm not.
As of right now, what you mean?
Since I've been incarcerated, I've looked back on my past to realize, doing all that, all the drugs and everything else, I wasn't only just hurting myself, but I was hurting my family. And that's a big reason for me to let all that go.
Okay. Now, tell me a little bit about this offense that you're charged with, this carnal knowledge of a juvenile. How did that come about?
Well, sir, I realize anything that I say, it would be an excuse. So for that reason right there, that's all I have to say, sir.
Okay. Were you under the influence of anything at the time of the incident?
Well, yes, sir. We were drinking alcohol and we were smoking marijuana.
So you were under the influence at the time of the incident?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You don't deny the incident?
No, sir. I don't deny it at all.
Okay. Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Before we get to Ms. Wise, I'd like to recognize the guests that logged on to the hearing. We have the offender's mother, Ms. Bridget Roussel, and we have the mother of the victim, Ms. Courtney Chasson. And Ms. Roussel and Ms. Chasson will give their statements at the appropriate time. Mrs. Wise.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How long have you served on this sentence?
I've been down for 7.5 years.
Okay, 7.5. So when you got arrested in 2013, you never got released?
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay. All right. And I understand why you said you don't have a drug problem now. I do want to inform you, as a part of this process, we reach out to the law enforcement community to get their opinion about early release. And you have some law enforcement opposition. That's the DA, the judge, and the sheriff's office, and the PD. Right. And actually, there's some kind of strong opposition that was verbalized. And you also have victims' opposition. Your actual victim and her mother, they are also opposed with the statement that they don't feel like you've served as much of the sentence as the DA had indicated that you would serve. Right. So we know about. I'm just informing you of that. So I'm glad your mother is here, because probation parole wasn't able to reach her. So I'm glad that she's here. All right, that's all I had, Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Wise. Mr. Roussel, I have no questions. Right at this part of the hearing, we'd like to hear from your mother, Ms. Bridget Roussel. Would you unmute your mic, please?
Okay. Yes,
and
sir.
Please give us your name and your relationship to the offender.
Bridget Roussel. as Kenneth Russell as my son.
Okay. You're ready for your statement.
Okay, yes, sir. I just want to say that, yes, I do believe that Kenneth needed to have some punishment for the crime that he had made. I just am ready for him to come home. He needs to come home to his family because he's been gone long enough. I love you, baby. That's all I can.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. Would you please mute your mic? Ms. Courtney Chesson, would you please unmute your mic? Please give your name and your relationship to this case.
My name is Courtney Chesson, and I'm the victim's mother.
Would you please give us your statement?
Well, I wanted to verify, did y'all receive the letter that I submitted?
Yes, ma'am, we did, and I've read both your letter and your daughter's letter.
Okay. Can I do I need to reread it, or can that be my official statement?
Just give us your statement.
Okay. Well, we didn't feel like he was due to get out yet because we were told that he would do 85% of his time. And, you know, I mean, she was just barely 13 years old. His charges have been greatly reduced from what he was originally, or the actual crime that he did. His charges very reduced. And so he's not serving the time that for the crime that he actually did. It doesn't match. So I just feel like it's too early for someone to get out of jail that hasn't at least served the time for, everything has been reduced. The crime, the amount of time that he should have gotten, everything was reduced. So I feel like it's just too early for him to get out and, I just wanted him to be there long enough to where my daughter was grown and safe and could take care of herself and carry a weapon if she needed to. And she's barely she's just now becoming an adult. And I just feel like it's just too soon.
Thank you, Ms. Chesson. Would you please mute your mic? Mr. Warden Cooley, would you like to make any remarks or comments?
I do not have anything to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden. Mr. Russell,
Yes,
at
sir.
this time, would you like to close with a brief statement?
Yes, sir, I would. I have 2 strikes against me now, sir. And I realize, with this 3rd strike, if I would get out and get in trouble again, I would be probably looking at a life sentence. So I'm really not into getting myself in trouble or anything like that. I can sit here and apologize every day of my life to my victim. And I still don't think that would be enough apology or, sorries that could change what I've done. I mean, what I've done in the past, I can't change. I can only look forward and move forward and make progress and just live my life as good as I can live it, sir. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is the panel ready to vote?
I'd like to ask him a couple more questions before we vote, Ms. Rochelle. Ms. Rochelle.
Yes, sir.
Disciplinary. What kind of disciplinary have you had any write-ups?
I have 1 write-up. I had a aggravated disobedience in 2019. I believe it was March 17th.
And what did that consist of? What was that?
I didn't listen to the guard. Instead, I was pretty much being a follower. I should have just stayed there and not went with everybody else.
Okay. Yes, we're ready to vote, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Jones?
Ms. Roselle, I'm glad to know, and of course, glad to know you doing well where you are, and the one write-up, of course, we need to get that concerns me a little bit. The one write-up less than about a year ago, is that correct? Back in 19?
Yes, sir.
I would like to see you do some more substance abuse training. I don't think you've had enough for substance abuse classes since you've been incarcerated. Some of it is not because of you. I mean, I know a lot of the classes have been down because of the COVID, but I would like to see you get some more stuff. And this is your first time coming before the parole board, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, because of the law enforcement opposition, the victim opposition, and the lack of with the disciplinary you had for last year, and the lack of substance abuse treatment and everything, my vote today is going to be to deny, and hopefully you'll continue to do well, and maybe getting some more of these programs in the near future. And the next time you're able to apply to come before the board, hopefully that maybe I'm on the board on that panel at that particular time, and I'll look at it much differently if you get no more write-ups and get some more classes behind you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good luck to you.
Mrs. Wise.
Mr. Russell, I concur with my colleague. My vote is the same for the same reason, but at the same time, I want to encourage you to continue on the path that you're on, and don't follow the crowd. You know, you're past that, and continue to do well. And like you said, the outcome may be a little different if you can finish that sex offender treatment class. Like we said, no fault of your own, but hopefully, things will open back up and you'll be a priority. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Roussel, you have received 2 votes to deny your request. I too will agree with my colleagues based upon no sex offender treatment, strong opposition from law enforcement, adamant opposition from the victim's mother and the victim. My vote is to deny your request. You have received 3 votes to deny. Your request has been denied. You have a good day.
Sir, you too.
Okay, so I'll go back and wait a minute.
2 counts, carnal knowledge of a juvenile. One is 10 years, the other is 5 years. Why they're both not 10 years, who knows? But what can you say? It's I don't have any information on this case. Absolutely nothing. Just the idea that I just get so worked up. This cockroach who does this to these little children, and then you have to have the victims or the mothers show up and say, like, come on, like, wake up, you can't get. And it's just, and then the other mothers, oh please, I want. It's like, do you know what he did? Like, so often you see that people that commit these crimes are surrounded by enablers. This hearing took place in 2021. January 2021, and he's I could just double check it, I guess. He's still locked up, but you might even say, wow, at least he got a 15-year sentence. So often we've seen just little 5, 4, 3, 6-year sentences, but it's just I don't know why they don't go harder on them, because one day he will be free, and he's not an old guy. He's quite young. He's 43 today. So it's just what's going to happen later, right? What's going to happen when he does get out? It's really just a nightmare. I wish I could share more information on this case. His full term date is what, 2028? So worst case scenario, he gets out in 5 years from now. I mean, like the best case scenario, and then what? Then what? Let's just kick the ball down the road. That's what the DAs do, because who cares about our children, right?
Number 562149, you are a second class offender, attempted simple burglary, 1/8/2018, 17 years hard labor, parole date 1/7/2021. Let's see. Your good time date is 7/2/2021. Your full term date is 7/15/2033. Does that sound correct? Yes, sir. Answer Mr. Jones's questions, please.
Good morning, Ms. Harrison.
Morning.
See, well, you've been arrested several times since '09 for burglary, ag battery, and drug charges. I want you to know that you do have some law enforcement opposition. You have a moderate risk score. You've been placed over the past several years. You've been placed on probation, and each time you've been placed on it, you've been revoked. What kind of programs have you been involved with since you've been incarcerated?
Okay, I took living in balance. I took control, mind officer, Cebu. I took living in balance, splendid family, anger management, mind officer, substance abuse, MRT, and I got my high set diploma.
Have you found out anything about yourself that you may not have known prior to incarceration?
Yes, sir. I learned to be wiser, and I learned to control my anger more.
Control your anger?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever been mental health? Have you ever been diagnosed? Did any mental health treatment?
No, sir. No, sir.
What kind of work you were doing prior to coming to jail?
I was doing construction asphalt.
How long were you doing that?
I was there for 2 years.
2 years construction? What
Yes,
happened?
sir.
Then you came to jail?
Yes, sir.
What would be your plans if released?
I'll go back to work. I got my high set, so I'm gonna utilize my high set, go back to trade school.
You say utilize your high set, so you got your GED while you've been incarcerated?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Congratulations. Good job.
Thank you.
You have any kids?
Yes, sir. I have a 5-year-old son.
5-year-old son. Good
Yes, sir.
relationship with him?
No, sir.
Good family support. I know some of your family is here today to support you there, which is real good.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't have any other question for you at this time.
Thank you.
Mayor Bella.
Mr. Harrison, my name is Tony Marabella. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Harrison, I've got a couple of questions. Are you currently in Steve Hall?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been in the program?
I finished the first program in August of 13. I'm in the second program, Sector Responsibility. I will graduate that this Friday.
And while you pled guilty to simple burglary,
yes, sir,
facts to that case was substantially worse than just a burglary. What was going on with you during this time? Were you on drugs? Were you angry? What was happening with you when you committed this?
I was on real bad alcohol. I was just going through a lot of problems at the time, and I was using my alcohol as I guess I want to say as a mind-altering substance, just something to try to keep me from going head on with the problem, and it was real bad alcohol.
How are you going to handle your alcohol now?
I'm gonna attend AA and NA, stay away from the negative peer group, and attend church and with my family.
How long have you been drinking alcohol?
I've been drinking alcohol since I was like 21.
And you're, what, 34 now?
I'll be 34 in December.
And how often were you drinking?
I was drinking on weekends. I probably was drinking a case of beer.
Did you know the victim in this case?
Yes, sir.
What was her relationship?
That's my son, mother.
You've had other arrests in the past for home invasion, sexual battery, second-degree rape.
Yes, sir.
What's going on with you during those times?
Sir, even though I wasn't convicted of those cases, I wasn't convicted of those charges. That was just a charge they brought up on me. But I will say that I was at the house at the time and things escalated from my alcohol and my drugs. But I didn't intentionally to harm her, cause her any problems. It was just my mind was on a different level than what it is now. But I'm older and wise now.
And when did you get your high set diploma?
I got my high set at 2018.
Since you've been in jail?
Yes, sir.
It really sounds like you're doing well since you've been in jail.
Thank you, sir.
And what do you see the difference now than before you came to jail?
Like I said, I got wiser. I learned to control my anger. I learned to accept responsibility. And I also learned in this program to don't be in denial that I'm to blame for the choices that I made in the past.
Prior to coming to prison, had you ever gone to any AA meetings?
No, sir. No, sir.
So this is your first introduction to AA in the 12 steps?
Yes, sir.
How important do you think they are?
They're very important. They're very important. They play a major part in our life. Me personally, I like number 7. I'm going to ask him to forgive us of our shortcomings because sometimes we get caught up in the past and it keep us from moving forward. So we want to thank God for that.
How often do you think you need to go to AA meetings when you get out?
Very often, sir. Very often.
How long do you think you'll have to go to AA?
It won't be long because I don't have the urge to do alcohol no more.
I don't know if you heard my question. My question is, how long do you think you're gonna have to continue to go to AA meetings?
It won't be long, sir, because I don't have the urge to drink anymore.
You're telling me that you think once you get out, you go to a few meetings and you quit drinking, you won't have to go to AA meetings anymore?
No, sir. What I'm saying is I don't have the urge to drink alcohol, so I know for a fact that I won't have to go to AA that long. But I will attend AA to better myself.
I'm very concerned about the fact that you don't believe you will have to go to AA meetings for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You're an alcoholic.
Yes,
You
sir.
will always be an alcoholic.
Yes, sir.
And to say you don't need it is bad thinking.
Yes, sir.
Reconsider what you're learning at Steve Hoyle right now, because talk to them about that.
Yes, sir.
That isn't the right answer.
Yes, sir.
That's all I've got.
Thank you.
All right. So what you said you had a GED?
Yes, sir.
You're working towards that, and you are currently in the Steve Hall program?
Yes, sir.
How much longer you have for that?
I graduate the second time in this coming Friday.
All right. Staff, you have any input, staff there?
I would just reiterate that he's followed his treatment plan guidelines that we've asked him to do. He graduated the 9-month or 6 month.
6 months.
He graduated the 6-month program because of COVID. Instead of him maybe trying to go somewhere else, he decided to stay an additional 3 months to take some more classes. But he's done everything we've asked him to do as far as the treatment plan goes.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Sneed, would you like to make a statement?
Yes, sir. Good evening. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It gives me a blessing and a privilege to be able to speak on the behalf of Deandre, my nephew. I would like to say, as Deandre, we're not at the point of denial. Deandre did have major issues in his life growing up due to family issues or hereditary things. But I would say through the whole process of him calling me and we have in good contact with family, Deandre has tremendously changed. His mentality has changed. His way of talking has changed. And yes, I think that time and chance happens to us all. And I think and really believe that Deandre will make a difference and an impact, not just his family life, but his son life also. And I ask that this parole board would grant him his early release. We do have a vehicle to get him to work. We actually are a orientated family and got his back 100%. And I thank you all for this opportunity. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Like to make a statement on your behalf, Deandre?
Yes, sir. I want to thank y'all for giving me an opportunity. Throughout my time in incarceration, I learned that I'm older, I'm wiser now, and I learned to value life. I have a 5-year-old son who I want to get to and raise to make choices better than the choices I made in my life. As you see, I got a family who love and support me. Not only do I want to better myself for them, but I want to better myself for myself. And I know I can be a productive citizen in society, sir.
All right, thank you. Is the panel prepared to vote?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jones?
Mr. Harrison?
Yes, sir.
Sound like you're doing good since you're incarcerated. I'm like Mr. Marabella, your answer to that question about you being an alcoholic. Yeah, I don't think you've come to grips with that yet. You will always be an alcoholic, and I think those meetings need to continue throughout your entire life.
Yes, sir.
Seemed like you were using, I don't know what was going on with you at a young age, what led you to this. I'm sure there's a reason for that. But my vote today gonna be to deny and let you continue those programs and go back and come to grips with being an alcoholic. You are an alcoholic.
All right, Mr. Marabella.
Harrison, I am impressed with what you've accomplished while you've been in prison. I'm familiar with the Steve Hall program. I know it's an excellent program, and I hope that you, am I muted?
You on mute, Mr. Marabella. Okay.
Mr. Harrison?
Now I can hear you.
Okay. Mr. Harrison, I'm very impressed with what you've accomplished while you've been in prison. I think the Steve Hall program, I have a concern. And my concern is, while I believe that you've learned a lot, I don't know that you've really digested them all. AA is a tremendous program. It'll keep you sober, but it's a lifelong thing.
Yes, sir.
You don't just go to a couple of meetings because you don't have the urge to drink anymore.
Yes, sir.
I know you've learned that there's certain triggers that make you drink. Well, if you don't stay going to AA meetings and keep your sponsor, you're going to go back to drinking. You've been drinking a long time. You're an alcoholic. You can't drink, and you need AA. I'm hoping that you continue on the path you're going. The next time you come up for parole, I'm still on this board, and you've done all of the things that you continue to do, I'll vote to grant at that time. Today, my vote is to.
All right, Jeff, 2 votes to deny your parole today. Again, you are doing well. Your good time date is 7/2 of 2021. It's not too terribly long off. You are in a good place. Continue to work hard. Maybe you'll get some more good time credits. But I vote to deny as well today for the same reasons stated. Law enforcement opposition, poor supervision, high tiger. So keep working hard and wish you good luck. 3 votes to deny today. Your parole's been denied. Thank you.
Well, I feel like we got a glimpse of his temper at the end of that hearing. He kind of like just jumped up. You know, at first when they read off 17 years for simple burglary, I'm like, oh, another classic Louisiana case, simple burglary, 17 years, throw the book at him. But no, this is, you know, he deserves all the years of the sentence. This guy's got a scary rap sheet, and it was a home invasion. They just pleaded down, right? So listen to this story, and thank you, Richard, for sharing it. They arrested a man who forced his way into a home and reportedly tried to force himself on a woman. Police arrested him for attempted second-degree, yes, the R word, home invasion, sexual battery, resisting an officer by flight. Police chief said that he forced his way into the home at about 3 a.m. So she's, home, she's asleep. He breaks in, he attacks her. And man, she is a champion because she fights back. Look at him. He got the brunt of it. Man, he messed with the wrong woman, I'll tell you that. Officers were dispatched to Cherry Street in reference to disturbance. And when they arrived, they were met by the female victim, but I'd call her the female, more than survivor, the female superhero, who indicated that she was attacked by him. He said that officers, first class, they said that they saw him flee from the back door as the police were arriving. Identified himself and ordered Harrison to stop and gave chase until he lost him, the chief said. Officers discovered a lot of blood at the scene of the house, and the house was in disarray. Officer said the female superhero indicated Harrison forced his way into her home, attacked her, and then tried to force himself on her. The chief says that the survivor, the superhero, fought back, and during the altercation, a vase fell onto the floor and shattered. The superhero picked up a shard from the vase and cut him with it. Oh, I love it. I love it. You can probably see the cut right here, the fresh stitches. You see that? At one point, he got the shard out of her hand and was still trying to force himself on her. He said she somehow broke away from him, grabbed the kitchen knife in preparation to defend herself when she saw the officers arrive. I don't know how the officers got there that quickly, but man, it's amazing. Then this guy, this genius, this brilliant criminal over here went to the emergency room. You just think that, like, would you really go to the emergency room? Maybe you just like wait it out. No, he goes to the emergency room, and that's how we got him. It's quoted. So they got a call from the ER saying that someone had been in there with some cuts and was being treated. I mean, can you imagine going after you go a home invasion, an attempted assault, and then you go into the emergency room because you have need a couple of stitches. After they treated his wounds, they sent him to the prison, and the rest is history. He gets this massive sentence, 17-year sentence. He's not the brightest of criminals. And what's pretty fascinating, maybe it shouldn't be because, again, it's not, but he graduates Steve Hoyle, the best program that DOC has to offer. And then they kind of have nowhere to send him. So he stays for another 4 months. So he does extra credit, and he's graduating that in just a few days from this hearing. And he still can't answer Mr. Mirabella's question of, I'm going to go to AA. I'm always going to be in. He still can't. It's like nothing. All those months, all that taxpayer dollars, all of that couldn't even get him to the point where he could fake it, where he just knew the answer. What are they learning in there, And look, some people do go through the course and they can recite everything word for word, and some people go through it and you just say, really? I mean, this is like a poster child scenario of like, come on, guys, like don't drink all the program Kool-Aid. It's just because you send someone to a program, it doesn't mean that they're all of a sudden, a changed person. It really means nothing, in my opinion. Maybe some people can benefit from it in some ways, gain insight, information, think about things in ways that they hadn't thought about. Maybe there are some benefits. I don't know, but I'm generally skeptical of it. But this is definitely a classic case of it's absolutely nothing. And I mean, he should have at least known how to do a parole hearing, at least know to say, yeah, I'm going to get out and go to classes. I mean, that's what they teach you here. But good thing that he was denied. I think he's a scary, dangerous man who really doesn't have insight into what he's done. And, you know, if the DA would have shown up and actually had spoken about the crimes here, I think he would have added a lot more color. But he was out for blood, and the only reason things weren't worse was because this superhero, she defended herself. She fought like a champion. Well, we saw a bunch of different hearings and different outcomes, and I'd like to thank you for being here. And with that, I'll let you go.